Okay, today's daf is Masechta. Okay, today's daf, Be'ezus Hashem, is Masechta Bava Basra daf Ayin, number 70. And we're starting from daf Samach Tes Umid Beis. And here we go. Two lines from the bottom. Okay, we're discussing a guy writes a contract and he says, I'm selling you my field except the trees. Now, trees come in all different shapes and sizes, right? So if he said except from trees, what does he mean? So we learned previously in the Gemara, let's say I'm going to point over here. If he has only two types of trees in his yeah. Then, and let's say he has an apple tree and a palm. So when he said except from trees, he meant excluding the apple tree. Not considered to be a tree. If he said except trees and he only has gufni is a vineyard, let's say a grape tree, let's call it, vidikli, and a palm tree, he meant to exclude levar magufni, except the grape tree. Okay, but the palm tree is not considered a tree. Okay. Look at Gemara. Amar Rav said, guy again sells his field and says, I'm not selling the trees. So it depends. If it's a type of tree that you need a rope to climb it, so it's a tree that's pretty big in size, have a shiur, that is called, he's leaving for himself, that's not part of the sale. If you don't need a rope to climb the tree, you can easily climb the tree. Loy havashir, that's not called, he's keeping it for himself. That's called like a sapling. You know, when you call the village of Lawrence and you ask them to plant a tree in front of your house, they'll come with a little thing over there. So that's what probably a tree that you don't need a rope to climb it. So that wouldn't be a leftover. Now, the judges of the Goyla would say, and this is the two judges were named Shmuel and Karna. They had another rule of thumb. A guy sells his field except for the trees. He means kol oil kaifshoy loy havashir. If when you're a yoke carrying on the cattle, right around the trees, and you're trying to plow around the trees, and if the yoke would bend the tree, it could easily bend the tree, then loy have a shiur. Then it's not that's not called a leftover. In other words, if the yoke would bend the tree, and then the tree would you need a force to bend the tree, and then the ox could pass. So that's already a strong tree. So that's what he meant to include. I'm not selling the trees. Kol she'ein ha'oil kaifshay. But if it's a type of tree that the tree does not hold back the ox. The ox doesn't need to bend it. It just easily moves around it or something like that. So haveshir, then it's left over. V'loy pligi, and they're not arguing. Ha bedikle. Rav and the Yanagola are talking about two different types of trees. The words of Rav were referring to a palm tree. Therefore, to determine if a palm tree is included in the sale, so that you need to know if you need a rope to climb the tree or not. But ilani, a regular tree, you determine another method if it's a young tree or an old tree. Again, they would there you use the parameters that the Dayana Goyla set. That means that if the yoke would bend the tree and the ox could go along its path, and the tree does not stop the ox, then it's not considered a chosh of a tree. But if it would stop the ox needs to go around it, then it's considered to be an old tree, and therefore it is considered to be. The guy says, I'm not including it in the sale. Okay, new Gemara. Boy minei Rav Acham Rav Huna Rav Sheshes. Rav Acham Rav Huna asked a question from Rav Sheshes. We know when you sell a tree, when you sell a field, you don't mean to include, the Mishnah said, it doesn't include carob trees and sycamore trees because they're special trees that obviously are not included into the sale. So the question is, hi, Alan. Well, we just began. We're on the top of the page, Ayin. So the question that Rabbi Acha asked Rosh Hashanah, if a guy said, I'm selling you my field except from this carob tree or this sycamore tree, so why did he have to single it out? It's not, no sycamore tree is included in the sale. So why did he single it out? So Mahu, what do we say? What do we say he meant? I say I said Charav, who delay Kani. Did he mean to say that that tree, that carob tree, is not included in the sale? Hoshach and Kani. But what he meant to say is that other carob trees are included in the sale. Although normally a carob tree would not be included in the sale, but the fact he singled out and said this carob tree is not included in the sale, probably he's trying to say that other carob trees are included in the sale. Or did he mean to say that other carob trees are not included in the sale? It doesn't matter. He singled out this carob tree, but he meant to add extra verbiage. Sometimes there's like an OCD. He wants to, even though he didn't have to say, because never a carob trees are never included in the sale. So the fact he said this carob tree is not included in sale, it means also other carob trees are not included in the sale. Amalei, Rav Sheshes answered, Loikana, no carob tree is included in the sale. No carob tree. And the fact that he said, except this carob tree, that's fine. He just added extra words. Eisvei, I'll ask you a question. It says in the Brisa, Chutz Mecharav Pliny. If a guy says, I'm selling you my field, except this carob tree, Chutz Mesadin Pliny, except this particular sycamore tree in my field, Loikana. The Brisa says that he doesn't acquire, that's not part of the sale, is that carob tree and that sycamore tree. My love, didn't he mean to say, that carob tree is not part of the sale. But other carob trees are part of the sale. Isn't that what he meant to say? So Amalei, no, that's not a question. Loi. Even if he meant to say any carob tree is not included. And the fact that he singled out this particular carob tree, it doesn't matter. He just added extra words because never a carob tree is included in the sale of a field. Teida, I'll prove it to you in a practical example. Let's say a guy's a rich guy. He has a bunch of fields, right? So he's making a sale, and he says, he says to somebody, Sodai mechura lecha, my field is sold to you, chutz misode plainis, except this particular field. So he's saying, my field is sold to you, except that field. So, but he has hundreds of other fields. So are you going to say, that particular field is not included in the sale? The 99 others that he has, would you say that the other 99 fields are included in the sale? Of course not. It's only he's selling one field and that's it. You don't get the other 99 fields. So also over here, you don't get any of the fields. And same thing over here. The fact that he said, except this carob tree, doesn't mean you get the other carob tree. You get no carob trees, and just he spoke extra words. And sometimes a person speaks extra words. He can't, be pedantic on his extra words. Others say like this. Rav Huna asked the question from Rav Sheshes. Okay, a guy says, again, when you sell a field, the Mishnah said that a carob tree is not included in the sale. What happens if a guy said chutz mechatzi charav pliny, except from this half of carob tree? Oh, he said except this half of carob tree. So the question is, or chutz mechatzi sadon pliny, or he said half of this sycamore tree. Mahu, what would be the din? So here, shacharuvim vadelekana. No carob trees. The other big trees are not included in the sale because you're only selling a field, not a carob tree. But But now that he said, except when it comes to this carob tree, half this carob tree is not included in the sale. But the other half that he left over, Connie, will the purchaser acquire it? Or maybe not so. Even what he said, the other half, the other person, the purchaser would not acquire it. The other half of that carob tree. And the fact that he said chatzi karev pliny, this half a carob tree you're not going to get, you can't be, medayik on his words, say, he meant this, but the other half, yes. No, he was just talking, to get the sale done. And to be clear, overly clear on what's not included in the sale. But what he meant to say is that no carob tree is included in the sale. Amalei, so Rav Sheshis responded, Loikana, you're right. No carob tree is included in the sale, even the second half of that half a carob tree. Eisvei, so the Brisa, this version goes, he said, Chutz michatzi charav pliny. He said, this half a carob tree is not included in the sale. Chutz michatzi sadon pliny, except this half of sycamore tree is not included in the sale. So we medayek sha'ar cheruven loikana. The other half of carob trees are not included in the sale. So my love doesn't mean shar charuvim. What did the Brisa mean? Shar charuvim who'd like on. The Brisa meant to say other carob trees are not included in the sale. Ha mashashir ba'isacharav, but the other half of this particular carob tree, he said half of this carob tree is not included in the sale. So from this Brisa, it seems to imply that this half of carob tree, yes, is not included in the sale, but the other half is. And that's not like Rav Sheshis. Rav Sheshis says no part of the carob tree is included in the sale. So the Gemara says you're reading the Brisa wrong. It's not a question against Rav Sheshis. Amalei loy, not so. The other half of that carob tree also doesn't work. Loikana. Teida, I'll prove it to you. The ilu amale, again, same idea. Guy selling, he's a rich guy, he has 99 fields. And he's selling this. He says, this field, my 100th field, I'm selling to you. But I'm not selling you the half of one of the 99 fields extra that I have. So are you going to say, that half a field is not part of the purchase plan, but all the other 99 fields, 98 and a half fields are included in the sale? Obviously, you don't say that. He was just adding words to the contract, over talking. Some people have this, mouth that says too many words. You're not getting that other 98 and a half fields. It's not part of the purchase. So also over here, the other half of that carob tree is not included in sale. Basically, what the Gemara just concluded is that when a person sells a field, of course, even if he says nothing, the carob trees are not included in the sale. These are unique trees that cannot be included in the sale. However, even if he would single out and say, I'm not selling this carob tree, or if he said, I'm not selling you this half of carob tree, we would still say, like Rav Shesha says, no carob trees included in the sale. And the fact that he pointed it out is just, he was adding extra words to his agreement, but really it was unnecessary because no carob tree is included in the field. New Gemara, and this is interesting. Rav Amram asked the questions from Rav Chizda. Again, this is a time when there was no banks, right? So let's say Hamafkid Eitzel Chaver B'Shtar. A guy deposits, let's say, money to his friends to watch it, and he took a receipt. He has a receipt that he gave this guy, 1,000 gold coins to watch. Now he comes with the receipt to collect the gold coins. And the person, the banker, let's call him, said, I returned it to you. Maho, what's the din? Do we believe the banker by saying the guy that got the deposit, say, I returned it to you? Mi amrinam, do we say, mi goy di boy amra? He could have said, ne'ensu. The thing that you deposited by me was forced, taken away from me. Oh, if you would have said that, Nehemin, he would have been believed. Right, because if he's every shomer is exempt from ne'ensu if it's forced taken away from him. So hashtanami, so say the same thing now. Mehemet, he's believed. He's believed to say, I returned it to you, because he could have said it was forced taken away from me. So if he says, I returned it to you, we believe him. Dilma, or do we say he's not believed? Because the guy could say back, Shtarcha biyodi my boy. Then why am I still holding on? If you indeed returned me my 1,000 gold coins, then why am I still holding on my banknote? That you owe that I deposited by you. What am I doing with it? Shtarcha biyodi, your document in my hand. What's it doing? So it must be you're not telling me the truth. Because if you indeed returned it to me, you would ask me to give you back the bank note, that the deposit note. Amalei. So Rav Chizda answered, Rav Amram Mehemen, you are believed. The Gemara says, my boy. Then why can't? But it's a good question. What if he indeed returned the coins back to the mafkid, to the depositor? Then why is the depositor holding on to a document saying that he has a deposit by this guy? Why didn't he take it back? So Amalei, so Rav Chizda answered Rav Amram, Ultamech, according to your reasoning. V'chi Amalei Nensu, if he would have said it was forced taken away from me, would you Amalei Shtarcha biyad my boy? Would you say, what is the document doing in your hands? The document's still doing in your hands because the fact it was forced taken away from me means I never returned it to you. So since he would have been believed if he says Nensu, even though the guy's still holding to the shtar. So if he says Hichzartim lecha, I returned it to you, and he has a migoy, he could have said Nensu. So just like by Nensu, he's believed, even though the guy is still holding on to the shtar. So when he said Hichzartim lecha, the guy is believed, even if the guy is still holding on to the shtar. That's what Rav Chizda's answers. Amalei. So Rav Amram said to Rav Chizda, we go to Amud Beis, soif. But the bottom line is, ki Amalei Nansu. Okay, if you're saying that Hechzartim Loch is believed because of Migoy of Nansu, he could have said Nansu. Well, when he does say Nansu, Lav Shvuya Boya, doesn't he have to take an oath that it was Nansu? So Hachiname, so answers the Gemara. This is Rav Chizda says, my Ne'eman, yes, I believe he's believed. If he says Chazartim Lecha, but Ne'eman b'Shvua, he has to take like a Shvua de Rabbanan that it was indeed Chazartim Lecha. So again, a guy deposits 1,000 coins by somebody, gold coins, and the guy says, I returned it to you. He's believed, he has to swear that he returned it, and he's believed with the Migo, he could have said it was, forcefully taken from me, even though the depositor is still holding on to the deposit document that he deposited it, and that looks a little fishy because what's he still holding on to that document? But because the guy, the banker should have taken it back, but he didn't. So he still believed if he said, I returned it to you. So the Gemara says, Leima b'plukti dahani tanoi. Maybe that this machlokes of this question was the subject of the following machlokes. I don't know if Tanoim, but it's Amoraim. The Tanya we learned in a brisa. Shtar kis hayotze ala yisayim. Let's say that you have orphans. A guy comes and says, I invested with your father. He owes me the money. And here's my document. Here's my my document that says I invested $100,000 with your father. So the question is, the Yana Goyla Amri, the Yana of the diaspora would say that Shmuel and Karna, the judges, they would say Nishba v'goyva hakol. He swears that he indeed invested with the father who died, and he collects the full amount. But Dayani Eretz Yisrael, the judges of Eretz Yisrael, Amri, they would say Nishba, he would swear. V'goyva mechatza, and he would collect half. Now, he would collect half. So my question is, he would collect half, because we don't know. Maybe he's saying the truth, maybe he didn't say the truth. Udukuli alma. Now, the way to understand this machlekes, the kuli alma isle dehen nerdoi. Everybody would hold of the idea of nerdoi. What did nerdoi say? The Amrei nerdoi said, Hi Iska, if you invest with somebody, Palga, let's say you invest $100,000 with somebody, Palga Milva, half of it is a loan, and he's sharing the profits. So half of it is a loan. So he for sure certainly owes you half of it. Palga, the other half, Pikoden is a deposit, which a deposit, if a mishap happens, the one who took the deposit doesn't have to pay. So everybody indeed holds you have to pay back at least half. But the Dayone Goyles say that the guy, the Yisoimim, have to pay everything back. Why? My lab This is what this argument is about. The Dagani Goyla hold, the Marsov they hold, Matzi Amalei Shtarcha Biyadim Boy. If indeed our father returned you the money, your investment back, then what are you still holding on to the document? So must be he never returned the money back for you. So the Yisraelim are in the wrong over here. They have to pay everything back. Umar Savri, but the judges of Israel who say that the Yisraelim only have to pay back the part that's a milva, but the part that's a bakadon, we would believe and say that we don't say they could have said nensu or whatever, and therefore they're believed, and that's why they only get half. So basically, the Dayane Eretz Yisrael will hold of Rav Chizda, and the Dayane Goyla will disagree with Rav Chizda. Answers the Gemara, loy, not so. The Kuli Alma, everybody would agree. Islay Rav Chizda. Everybody holds Rav Chizda's idea that the one who received a deposit, the banker, could always say, I returned you the money, with a migoy that he could have said it was forcefully taken from me. And we don't concern ourselves the fact that the depositor is still holding on to his deposit document showing he made the deposit. So what is the argument when it comes to Yisraelim? This is what they're arguing. The Mar Savar, the Ane Goyla would hold, the reason why you collect everything, in Isa de Pare, if it's indeed true that he actually paid the investor back his money, the father paid the investor back his money, he would have told the kids, listen, I took money as an investment from this guy, but I paid him back. And since he didn't say anything, therefore the Yisraelim have to pay everything. Umar Savar, but the Dayane Eretz Yisrael hold, true, maybe he did pay the guy back, maybe he did pay his investors back, but Ema, the reason why he didn't tell his kids is Ema Malach HaMavasu Da'ana say. The Malach HaMavas, suddenly took him away, and he didn't have enough time to tell his kids, hey, I paid the guy back. So therefore, the Dayane Chutz La'aretz, the Dayane Eretz Yisrael said that the guy only gets part of his investment back because that's a loan, but the other part he loses. Shalach Rav Huna, same idea. Shalach Rav Huna bar Oven, and Shalach Rav Huna bar Oven sent a question. Someone makes a deposit by his friend with a document, and the one who received the deposit says, I returned it to you. So Rav Huna bar Oven sent the message, Neman, the guy is believed. That's Rav Huna bar Oven's psak, like Rav Chizda. But Rav Huna said, but if an investor comes to orphans and says, I deposited the money to your father, we don't say the father paid it back. Nishba, the investor swears how much he invested, and collects the entire amount. So Tarte, the Gemara says, this seems to be a contradiction. By Amafker you say the guy's belief by Yisraelim, you don't believe the Yisraelim, who we always make the claim on behalf of the Yisraelim that if the father was around, he would have said Hixarti L'cha. But rather, when it comes to Yisraelim, the investor's in the right, and he gets to collect everything. How do you square off those two halachas? Shane Hasam, because when it comes to Yisraelim, then Isa de Pare, if he indeed paid it back, Meima Hava Amma, he would have told the kids. We don't have to come to make the claim on their behalf. The kids would have said, "Oh, our dad said it; he paid you back." So therefore, but nevertheless, Rava disagrees with Rav Huna bar Oven when it comes to Yisraelim. He holds like Hilkasa, like the Dayane Eretz Yisrael. The investor will only collect half. He swears how much he invested, and he collects half. Masutra said no. When it comes to orphans and an investor who claims he invested with the father, Hilchasa the Kadayane Gaila, we paskin like the judges of the diaspora, which says the investor swears and collects everything. Amalei Ravina Mazutra. Ravina said to Mazutra, Ha'ama Rava, but didn't Rava say Nishba v'goy v'mechza? So the question was, you paskin like the Yane Goyla, but the Rava himself said you only get half. So are you disagreeing with Rava? Apparently Rava was greater than Mazutra. Amalei, so Rabbi Zurcha said that I believe that the Yana Goyla were the one that said Nishba v'goy v'mechza. So I'm saying that basically the same thing as Rava. Amalei, anod the Yana Goyla. We go to Ipcha Masnin Le. I learned it just the opposite. That the Yana Goyla would say you get half, and the Yana Eretz Yisrael would say you get everything. So Rava who paskin that you get half, you swear you get half, and I who paskin that like the Yana Goyla are basically saying one of the same thing. So that concludes the Gemara. That concludes the Gemara of the depositor. You deposit the money, and the guy says, "I returned it to you. Do you believe him or not?" Okay, so this ends this daf ayin in Masechta Baba Basra.